Okay, we will go ahead and get started. So, hi everybody, I'm Krista Toller. This is Lindsay Marr from Lindsay Marr Studio. And we are so happy you're here for Design Style with Lindsay Marr and Mayco. She has come up with some really great ideas. This is the first of many events we're going to be doing together, and we're really excited about it. She just comes up with so many fun things, and we're like, wait, how can we do that? We need to do this. And so I'm so glad that you're so creative and come up with all these fun ideas for us. So thank you for being here, and I'm going to spotlight Lindsay and let her go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Krista. Thank you for having me again. I'm so excited to be here with Mayco. I physically am in Calgary, Alberta. That's where I live now. For anyone who may not know me, I used to be a paint your own pottery studio owner back in Burlington, Ontario, which is where I'm from. And I moved out here in 2020, and I no longer have a studio, obviously, but I've been continuing to use Mayco products, doing events like this. And then I also make my own pieces that I sell as well. So I've been posting this on my Instagram to get people to know about it. So whether you're someone who is also a paint your own pottery studio owner, or you're just a ceramicist and you're just looking to learn more about Mayco's great products, we're happy to have you here. I'd love to know where people are from too. So like Krista said, I have gotten a new computer and it will not allow me to use my video, and then it also would not allow me to use my video on my camera and my laptop, so I can't see the chat. So if there's anything you have a question of, Krista will answer it. But yeah, let me know where you are. Let me know if anyone's painting along with us today. We'll get to that quickly. I just want to show some ideas for all the possibilities that you can do with these templates. So this is a project that I used to offer in my studio, and it's really fun. The one thing I will warn, if you are a paint your own pottery studio owner, if this is an event that you have in your studio, it might be a little bit time consuming to have people designing their floral template and then transferring it on and painting it. So I've got some tips and ideas for that, just so you know, you can make it a little bit of a faster process so you're not there all night, because that was me. My boyfriend knew whenever I say, oh, I'll be home, the event's done at 8, I'll be home at 8:30. I'd come home at like 10. So here are all of the templates that you've gotten today for free. You probably, I think there's 5 or 6, I can't even remember now. But I designed these a while back, and then I'm working with Mayco. I've created some other ones to help you use them that are more seasonally appropriate. So a lot of spring stuff. But the one that I'm most excited about that you'll probably see are the ones that say Mother's Day. I think it's just one. Yeah. These are Mother's Day ones. And what I've done with these ones is I took a little Google search and I found for each month, there's like a birth flower. Now, if these aren't completely accurate, don't come for me, because Google gave me so many different like options of what each birth month's flowers from or is. So some are a little bit different, but if this is something that you're interested in, you can absolutely kind of make your own templates and go from there. But with Mother's Day around the corner, I thought it would be really awesome to get a picture of each month's flower so that you could somehow, you know, if this is a project you do in summer camp, not summer camp, because that's after Mother's Day. But if you had like a kids event where they come in and they could paint something for their mom, for example, my birthday's in July, so I'm Larkspur, which is this one here. My brother was born in March, so he's daffodil. So I could do some kind of combination with those two there. So that's a project right there. You know, if there's a way that you can incorporate hand or footprint art into this as well, that's another great way for Mother's Day, just to add another option for your customers where you do the custom painting for them, but you work with them to create a palette or a design. Super fun. The other thing that I do when I create these templates is I print them out in 2 sizes. So that way I can have options for big designs or little designs, which is nice, just gives you a little bit of variety, also depending on what piece you're working on. So obviously today we are going to be working with the casual wear dinner plate, salad plate, and the stemless wine tumbler, which I love because it's such a great shape. Yes, it's a wine tumbler. It could also be a vase, whatever you want to call it. There's so much you can do with this piece. So that's what we're working on today, because they're nice and blank canvases for us to work with. But if you have other pieces, I think when I did one of my seasonal styles, someone did I have a picture of it. I'll show you in a second, but I did an ice cream cone floral design and someone didn't have the piece. So I think they painted it on like a lizard figurine and I absolutely loved it. So if you have something different that you're painting on today, or you have something different in your studio, whether you're a paint your own pottery studio owner or just somebody who is a ceramicist as well, like whatever you've got to paint on, these will work for them. So we'll chat about that. So I want to show you some ideas. Oh, sorry, did someone have a question?
I think we're okay. I think somebody just got on. And,
okay. Yeah,
okay.
No worries. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'm sorry, it's going to be a little awkward. I'm going to flip my camera around here though, but I'm going to show you some options of past designs that I have seen done. And maybe this gives you some inspiration for doing them yourself. Because there's really just so many options with these sheets, which is what I love. Okay. I'm just going to, oh great, my computer's frozen. Oh my goodness. Just my luck. Okay, I'm gonna give that a minute, but in the meantime, we'll talk about the pieces that I did paint. So, sorry to bounce back and forth here. Here's this cute little phthalo plate. This one is inspired by wallpaper, actually, which kind of has that pattern on it that is mirrored. So I'm going to talk about how I did that. So if that's something you're interested in, I did send out the template for this exact piece. So if you want to paint the same one with me today, that's the one we're going to be doing. But I'm also going to show you how I did this so that if you want to create your own, you can do that too. Because I love that part about workshops is that I love how everyone puts their own creative spin on it with their own personal choices. So the computer is unfrozen, which is nice of it, but I'm just going to go back to the beginning. Okay. So here obviously is the pieces that we're working on today. There's an example. This is another one. You can use obviously with the bigger templates that you've got printed out. You can have, a smaller piece with larger florals to take up more of the space if you'd like. The one in the background there, I did completely with leaves, which you could also do. This one I have jungle gems on as well, which is a fun addition. We're not doing that tonight, but that's a fun addition. It does make it, some are not food safe, so be sure to check the labels on that. So this is the ice cream one I was talking about that I did it in another seasonal style event where someone painted it on a lizard. So this is an idea that you could definitely do with these templates is, have an ice cream cone, but choose the flowers that make up the cone or the ice cream part of it, which could be a fun camp project. You could again do it for Mother's Day. And if they have a lot of kids in the family, each kid can have their own flower for their birth month, and then they could paint it in their colors. So just an idea to get you going with. The other thing that's an option with these, if you're looking for a simpler, maybe less time consuming way, is on this piece here. This is a French dimension that I've got on the base of the cone to add some texture with it. You could definitely do that too with these templates. You could outline them in the French dimensions and then paint over it with a sheer foundation paint. That would be beautiful. That would be, have something similar to that. So this is a Mayco piece. I can't take credit for this. This is not my design. It was on Mayco's website, but this just shows you could kind of do the same idea and outline it in black, which is really pretty. It really makes it pop. Another Mayco piece, again, not mine, can't take credit, but you could design something similar to that, which is great because you could do this kind of monthly in your studio or seasonally. You could do an arrangement that is more spring or fall or Christmas or Halloween or something. That so many ideas that you can do with that. This one is one of the ideas that I have for if you're doing this as a ladies' night, if you have a paint your own pottery studio, to kind of make it a little bit shorter, rather than having them paint in all the flowers, just do the outline. So this is a really easy, quick one over of the floral designs with a script liner in a darker color. And then I painted over this with a foundation sheer blue color, which is really pretty results. So this is what I was talking about before. If you swapped out that dark underglaze color with the foundation, or sorry, a French dimension, that would be really beautiful because you get that foundation glaze cooling around that textured line from the French dimension and giving you variations of color. So that's an option. This is a custom one that I did for someone for a wedding gift. So there's an idea too. So if you wanted to incorporate some text or lettering into it, you know, you could do something like this for Mother's Day and have kids put their handprints on with a really light color in the background or something, and then incorporate the florals in on top. So many ideas for that as well. This is another one. This one's just got a little bit more design to it, I guess. There's more elements to it. So you can see I've obviously got some kind of like definition for the petals that was intentionally done. Whereas with the ones that I did today, that I'm showing you today, I'll talk about how I painted those, but those ones were a bit more time consuming because I went in with other colors to add elements of, you know, petals, or there's like the veining on the leaves. So that's another option as well, but really fun. And these ones are from when I had my studio. These are actual customer pieces. So these are people that came to my studio. They made their own design, they transferred it onto the piece, and they painted them themselves. So they're absolutely beautiful. I was so smitten with these when they came out of the kiln. I almost didn't want to give them back. But I wanted to show this one in particular too, because this is why you can print out, why you should print out different sizes of the templates, so that you give people the option to have miniature versions of it. And they're so beautiful. They are time consuming to paint, unfortunately. So again, if you're doing this as a ladies' night in your studio, it might take a while, but absolutely beautiful. And this is customer artwork that looks so great. The other thing I'll point out too, if you have Q-tips or cotton swabs in your studio, those are perfect for doing like these little tiny flowers here. Those come in handy as well. So those are a good thing to have on hand. I don't think we need them today, but if you want to use them for another project, they are great to have. All right, so that's all the pictures that I have of past things. So I hope that gives people some ideas. So now, how about we start painting? No, not painting, designing. We're going to design a template first. So I've already taken my bisqueware. I've wiped it off with a sponge. If you are doing this project, I would say first thing you do, have your customers come in and wipe down their pottery with a damp sponge, because it's going to make the transferring part a bit difficult if this is too wet. So make sure that's like the first thing you do, so that it's not too wet and you don't have any issues transferring your pottery on. If you just, hang with me for just a moment. I'm going to flip my camera around so you can see what I'm doing. So Krista, if you'd like to come in with trivia or something, just to keep people entertained, I'll get that all set up.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you where some of the people are from that posted in the chat. That have posted. We have Arizona, Delaware, Germany, 2 people from Germany, Ohio, cool. Pennsylvania, Florida, North Carolina. That would be me. California, Utah, Virginia, and then also not everybody's posted where they're from. Oh, Texas also, Illinois, Australia. People are posting now. This is great. We also had people sign up from Belgium, Canada, French Guiana, Netherlands, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Trinidad, Tobago, UK, Kentucky, Maryland, let's see, Nevada. I mean, New York, everywhere. I mean, people are from all over. Oregon.
Wow, I'm like Georgia. Like, I'm so surprised.
Yeah, West Virginia. I mean, I think when you start glazing, I'm going to see if I can count how many states and see. I mean, because there's so many. It's so cool.
I'm so excited by that. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I mean, obviously, Mayco's the best for offering this for you for free, whether you're taking this to learn to take back to your paint your own pottery studio or use it yourself in your own practices. If you're a ceramicist, I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Okay. Now,
even though you suck.
You love my shirt. Thank you. Obviously, it's perfect for today.
It is perfect.
Actually, I saw that pop up. Yeah. Okay. Now good. I'm going to flip my phone around.
Okay.
I'm just going to turn my video off for just a sec.
Okay. Yeah. So in case y'all came in, some people got here a little later, and so we are going to do some trivia. Lindsay and I had a really good time doing trivia back in our fall event. We did the wicker Christmas trees, and that was so fun. So we did holiday themed trivia. So these are all springy. type things, a few Easter things, and a couple of Mayco questions. So we'll do that throughout the night. But it's really fun. Heather, you said you like her shirt. We actually sell them. I think it's on Redbubble that you can buy one. They're so cute. I love them. I have two. I mean, of course, I work for Mayco, so it makes a difference, but they're really, really fun shirts. Our graphic designer, Kelly, designed them. They're fantastic. So
They're very comfy too.
Yeah, they're super
soft.
soft. Oh, I just love to see where everybody's from. This is really great.
Me too. Was anyone else from Canada, or is it just me?
Yes, we have a bunch from Canada.
Yeah.
From BC, from Ontario, from Ajax, another one Saskatchewan.
That's Ontario as well.
Niagara Falls, Alberta.
Nice. Oh,
Wyoming.
This makes me so excited.
Drew is here, but she's stuck on iPhone. That's okay. We know you're here, Drew. I'm glad you're here.
So am I.
That's funny. So while are you getting close? Oh, yeah. Just saw me at Ceramic Jam. How about that? Yay.
Oh, nice. Ooh, lots of learning going on. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a busy year.
I would love to make it to Ceramic Jam one day.
Maybe you will. It's a good event.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Is that okay? Everyone can see okay?
That looks perfect. Yes. I will fill in with you as we go along.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm noticing that I don't have scissors up here. Okay, hold on. All good. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. All right.
No worries.
So here we go. Okay, so I'm using white tissue paper today. This is my preferred way of being able to see where you're transferring things onto your pottery, as well as for making your templates. So the first thing I like to do, just to make it a little bit easier for yourself, I think I'm gonna do a solid plate. The first thing that I do is I trace out the shape of the pottery. So if you're doing like that one plate that I showed you at the end, like a hexagon or an oval or square, I just like to trace it out first with pencil, just so that I can see how much space I have. Like, I don't want to design something and then realize, oh my gosh, that's way too small, or oh, it's too big and it's not going to fit. So that's my first step, is I'm just going to trace it out. Sorry, that's a terrible sound. All right, so I've traced that out with pencil just to have like a guide of the size. You can see that. Perfect. Also, this sheet of tissue paper, because I know you can go to like, dollar stores or party stores or whatever, and you get like those massive sheets. I ordered these pieces of tissue paper because when I sell stuff on my online shop, this is what I use to wrap it in. So this is from a company called Uline. Now, I know for sure they ship to Canada. I believe they ship to the US, but I think that's it. So if you're outside of the US or Canada, I apologize. I don't know a source for tissue paper, but if you are a paint your own pottery studio and you're going to be doing this project a lot, having smaller pieces of tissue paper.
Oh, wait, Lindsay, I lost you somehow. I might have muted you by accident. Hang on.
There
you go. Okay.
I don't know what the last thing I said, but
okay.
These are good size sheets. They don't come from the ones like that are all packaged up and folded, so that you don't get the crease in this tissue paper. So this is a good way to do it if this is something that you think your customers would like in your studio and you're going to do it often. These are good size tissue papers to have. So I ordered them from Uline. So and obviously white is what I'm working with, but lighter colors are better, of course, because when you use your templates, you can see them so clearly through the tissue paper. So it's easy to transfer or trace and then transfer as well. So I talked about earlier how for this plate, I kind of did a wallpaper design. So what I did was I traced the plate, obviously, I cut it out, and then I just folded my tissue paper so that I could mirror the design from one side to the other, making it a little bit easier so that I knew things were spaced out well. I didn't have to trace everything, over and over and over again. I just tried to make it a little bit easier for myself. So that's a really fun way too. There were some spaces where I went in and I added an element just because it didn't work when I had them folded, but that is how I would suggest if you want to do a repetitive pattern or a mirrored image, this is the way to do it. It's just to cut out the shape of your piece and then fold it in half or fold it in half again if you want. And I thought this would be a really cool activity for like a kid's project, because I remember doing something similar to that in school. And it was, I think it was, we had to mirror our names somehow. But anyways, that's what I thought would be a really cool, just a little bit more of like an educational standpoint from it if you are doing this with kids. So that's how I did that. So if you want to try that for yourself, you certainly can. So for today, I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to start with this one sheet. It says Mother's Day at the top corner. It's got a big, beautiful hydrangea, which are my absolute favorite flowers because it's basically a bunch of flowers, little flowers that make up one big flower. So I'm going to do some of those in my design for today. Then I'm going to show you how I transfer. And then I'm going to grab the leaves. I'm going to grab the larger template as well as the smaller one, just so that I can get a variation of sizes. So there's the same one. So if you're curious how you do that, when you go to your printer and like you're setting up to print something, I believe, let me just pull it up on my computer now so I can like walk you through it. When you go to print it, when like the print page pops up and it's asking you, what printer you're sending, how many copies, there is a way that you can scale it and you can type in the percentage. So typically if I'm printing this is printed at 100% because I designed it on an app. So it's the same size as the sheet of paper. So I would scale this one. Like I think this one's about 40% from that. So that's how you can print it so that you get different variations of sizes. Just do that in your print settings when you go to print it. So that's how I did it if you're wondering. So I will show you first how I transfer on the hydrangea. And if anyone's doing this too, again, I won't be able to see it because I don't have my chat in front of me, but tell Krista what you're doing or turn on your audio for a minute. Let me know if you're painting along as well. I know a lot of people watch and then paint later, but I love when people paint along with me. It's really fun. So I'm going to transfer or trace out, sorry, this little hydrangea, which you can see really well just because it's white tissue paper. And then I'll give some suggestions on how to paint these hydrangeas as well, which I do have in this plate here, some tiny little hydrangeas. So I'll give some tips on that because this is such a, like the pattern on that plate that I just showed you, because it's so detailed, I want to do this painted in the easiest way. I don't want to be sitting here painting it for 6 hours, and probably neither do you if you want to paint your own pottery studio. You don't want someone sitting there for that long. But I mean, I know the take-home kits of COVID is probably long gone, but if you still offer that as a service, or you do mobile parties or something, this would be a great project that would keep people entertained. Because I remember when I had birthday parties at my studio, whenever they paint like figurines or something, they'd be done in 10 minutes. So this is just adding a little bit more time to keep kids busy because they are so good at going through things quickly. So this is just a great way to slow them down, make things a little bit more intentional. This is also a real, even for me, like it's a good exercise just for keeping my brain sharp for my hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. So
Lindsay,
it's a fun project.
Lindsay,
Yes.
somebody's asked are you using a pen or a marker? Like I guess a ballpoint pen or a marker?
Right now, this is just a pencil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just a pencil. Yeah, that's okay. That's a good question though, because this part I'm just making my design. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, you could use a pen, you could use, I I mean, you could use a pen. I would say maybe not like a waterproof mark, or yeah, like those kids washable markers, because that kind of can bleed on the tissue paper, which might make it hard when you're going to transfer it onto your piece. It might make it a little blurry. So yeah, this part, if you could really use anything. I prefer to use something finer when I'm doing this though, because when I transfer it on, I'm going to be using a thick Sharpie, and then I'll be able to tell, okay, I've obviously done this flower. I haven't done that one yet because it's not outlined in a thick black marker. So yeah, you could definitely use a pen for this. That's a very good question. It doesn't make a huge difference. This is just so that you can make your arrangement from the templates that you have. That's a good question.
Could you also use like a colored pencil maybe? Or colored, I guess
Like
you
a
could use
pencil
colored-
crayon? Yeah.
Yeah. Or a
Yeah.
colored pen or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just become prone to or prefer using mechanical pencils just because the
Mhm.
lead is so pointed and sharp. You know, if you have a pencil that you haven't sharpened in a while and it's like really flat, you could scratch the
Right.
tissue paper. So that's just my preference. This is just what I go to now, but it doesn't make too much of a difference for this part.
Good info.
So yeah, so there we go. There's the hydrangea that I've already traced out. So that's obviously the beginning of my design. So let's, Krista, which flower do you think I should do next? Should I do a rose or like a daisy?
Oh, I love a daisy.
Okay, good choice. So I'm going to kind of layer that in. So again, because I'm using a white tissue paper, I can see through really easily. I can see where that daisy is positioned. Because I've done the hydrangea first, it now looks like this daisy is behind the hydrangea. So I don't have to draw those lines, which is nice. Obviously, if I wanted the daisy in the forefront, I can just go and erase those hydrangea flowers that are in the way. But that's totally artist choice, which is what I love about this. So we'll transfer the daisy kind of flower. How many people are painting today? Who's painting along? I'd love to know.
Y'all can raise your hands if you're painting. I think you can do that down in the reactions, maybe. Yeah, if you go to the reactions at the bottom of the screen, you can raise your hand. Oh, look, people are holding up their hands. How fun is this?
Love it.
There's a couple. Another one's got a thumbs up. Well, if you don't
Thumbs
paint now,
up,
you can paint
definitely.
later and share them with us too. I'll make it at Mayco Colors.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, when people send me pictures, I love to see what they've done. All right,
Jesse's
there we go.
painting.
So
Good
there's my
job,
little
Jesse.
daisy. There's my little daisy. Next, what should I do next? Maybe I'll do a rose too to
I like a
balance it
rose
out.
too.
So this is where it's fun too, because I've got that plate outlined, I know what kind of surface I have to work with, like surface area. So, you know, this is what's fun is I could take this rose and I can balance out where the daisy is and put it across from it. I can do, you know, something beside it, leaving more room. But this is just what's fun. And obviously where you can get caught up in spending a lot of time deciding what you want to do. So what I've done in the past too, is I've looked up bouquets or like arrangements. And if there's something that catches my eye that gives me inspiration, I can be like, oh, okay, so I've got these templates. This one kind of looks like that flower. And is this how I'm going to arrange it? So I mean, that might open more doors to it taking longer, but this is a fun way to do it too. But then you can come up with a design that complements the shape, the space of the shape that you're working on. Like that last photo I showed you of that hexagon plate where the painter did like the really fine flying florals around the edges. That's where the tissue paper obviously comes in handy to be able to do that. And I just love that piece so much. And I just love that if you are a paint your own pottery studio, that's just another way for customers to feel like they are literally painting their own design. And I think this is a really great solution for people that come in that are just like immediately like, I'm not creative. I don't know what I'm doing. Be like, well, you absolutely are creative. We'll find a way to help you do that. So this is just a really fun way to add that more personal element to paint your own pottery.
I like the idea that you can take these flowers and put some on a plate like you did, and then just take maybe one of those or a couple of those and put it on something else. So you have this set that goes together, but they're not all exactly alike.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll pull over the bigger plate that I had. So the other thing that this reminded me of, which I thought is kind of cool, is like this pattern is like, it's almost like a Pyrex or like a Corningware or a China pattern, you know, with the fine details around the edge. Obviously, it's not as fine as fine China, but that was one thing I got to inherit from my grandma was her China set that so my great grandmother had gilded with gold around the edge. So I just love this kind of more modern version of that. But yeah, that's exactly that, Krista. You can take, I kind of painted these ones to look like forget-me-nots, which are totally a flower that remind me of my grandma because her garden was full of them. So I took it from this, added it on this, and it just kind of ties it together without making it too much, because obviously there's a lot going on here. I didn't want to do the exact same thing on this one again. But I just thought that was really pretty. And then same with the mug. I just kind of took little leaves and flowers and then just scattered them around. But I love how that one turned out too.
So pretty.
So I'm going to keep adding to this design. The one thing that I thought was really cool is, again, because like exactly what we're doing tonight is everyone's going to have their own variation of it, which I think is so cool. If I were still a paint your own pottery studio owner and I had staff, I think one of the things that I would have done is do like a team building event with our staff meeting kind of event with my staff and get all of them to make their own arrangement. You know, like again, bringing up that hexagon plate with the really, really fine flowers on it. That hadn't occurred to me when I first offered it in my studio. I just did, you know, one big flower to take up the middle of the plate. I would have never thought to do tinier details around the edge. So I think that'd be really cool to get, if you have creative people working for you in your studio, get their perspective on what their version of it would be. And then you could print it out, have their version and like name it after them. So you could be like, oh, this arrangement's called the Lindsay or something. And then people just come in and they paint it and they add their favorite colors. So I just think it'd be a really cool way to create a project to see, you know, how all of your staff does that. I think that'd be a really fun project for everyone to do together. So if I had a studio still, that's what I would do.
Now, there's a question that says, can you paint on a plate that already has clear glaze on it? I would test that first. You know, there's some, I would definitely want to test that before I did it, a big mass thing, because you don't know where that plate has come from. If you're saying it's a plate that you've already clear glazed in your studio, then yes, you could do stroke and coat on top of that clear glaze. But if it's a commercial plate, you don't know where it's from, I would definitely want to test it first. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, and definitely test how it would transfer on. Oh, hold on a second. Let me test that out right now. I'll take this piece and I'll take this template. So this is just a thick Sharpie that I'm using. When I did it the first time, I used like one of those really fine point Sharpies to transfer on just because it was such small detail. But so what I'm doing right now, I'm taking my tissue paper and a Sharpie. This is glaze pottery. This is the same plate that we're working on today. So this is glazed by me, fired to cone 06. So I'm just going to see if I can get this tissue paper to transfer it on. So whoever asked that question will know. It did.
Nice.
So there you go. That answers your question. Oh, that was so satisfying to answer that like right away. All right, I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, someone had asked about doing stuff on stoneware, so I put that in the chat too about doing it. I would use gloss glazes on stoneware. I think it would look nice.
Yeah, this is definitely a design you could do on stoneware, though. I think you just have to anticipate the fact that it would shrink with the piece, right?
Right. Yeah, the piece would shrink a little bit. Someone asked, do you ever have issues with a mechanical pencil tearing the tissue paper?
Funny you should ask, because yes, I actually did that today. I did it right here.
Yeah.
So that
okay.
was just me not being careful enough. So that's what I like about this tissue paper, like I talked about before, is because it's not the kind that you get from like the dollar store that's all folded. It is a pretty smooth piece of tissue paper. As you can see though, well, maybe you can't, I don't know, but there is kind of like a little bubble in it. So if you're working with tissue paper, what I usually do is just kind of like smooth it out with my hand, and then with like my middle finger and my thumb, if you kind of like just spread it just to make it taut, you'll have that. You can avoid the issue of puncturing it with your pencil. I don't think, for what we're doing though, I don't think that's going to cause too many issues, because we do have to go over it with Sharpie. So if you are going over this with Sharpie on your piece, all that's going to do is allow the Sharpie to go through that puncture mark and leave a mark on the other side, but that's what you're already intentionally doing. So I don't think that would cause too many issues. That's a good question though. So now I'm going to add some leaves. Actually, oh man, I can't make up my mind today. Hello to the next. I'm going to add some more flowers just to balance this out, and then I'll add some leaves. So now I'm going to get that same daisy that we did before, but I'm going to get the smaller printout of it so I can have a variation of the size of it. This. And then I'll start adding some leaves.
I don't know what I'd do with me.
Susan Anderson, I see your hand is up. Did you have a question, or was that just from before? If you have a question, you can unmute yourself.
Maybe it was from before.
Maybe so.
Okay, now I'm going to add leaves.
Excellent.
So on that same Mother's Day sheet, the flowers at the top, I don't know why my computer did not print this out at the right size, but these leaves at the top, those are actual hydrangea leaves as well. So those ones work really well with the hydrangea. I mean, it doesn't have to be an exact, science of you have to use the right leaves with the right flowering, whatever you like, but just a fun fact. That is a hydrangea leaf, and they're my favorite. And a fun fact, if you like to have fresh cut hydrangeas, I've learned a little tip to keep them to last longer, because I've had many hydrangeas that just wilt on me as soon as I put them in a vase. So what happens, and I don't know the scientific word for it, so bear with me. But when you get a hydrangea and you cut the stem of it, there's some sort of like jelly liquidy substance that comes out of the stem, and it like covers the cut part of the stem, so it doesn't allow water to absorb through it. And hydrangeas are very thirsty flowers. They're just stubborn and don't want to drink it. And it's because of that like kind of gelatinous substance it secretes. I don't know what it is, but in the spice aisle, there's a product called alum, which is typically used for pickling, I believe. But what that does is it helps kind of preserve it. So what I do is, if I have fresh cut hydrangeas, you cut the stem on an angle and then cut up into the stem to just open it a bit more, dip the ends in the alum, and then they last a lot longer. So there's my fun fact.
See, you
That's
learned
about as green as my
and
thumb
taking
gets.
care of flowers. You can paint them and care for them all in one class.
That's really the only plant I can care for. I love working. No, I do not have a green thumb at all. I love working with floral themed things, but that's about as good as it gets for me. I have a lot of fake plants in our house, but we also don't get a lot of sunlight, so. Alrighty, so I'm gonna keep adding just so you can get an idea of how I do this. But that's what's fun about this, right? Like I could stop now, but it doesn't feel balanced to me. So I'm going to keep adding some elements in, but I could also, yeah, I could stop or I could keep going. So that's what I've got for now. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I've got for now, but I kind of want to balance it a little bit more. So I'm going to add some more leaves. More hydrangea leaves, I think. So we're obviously working with Mayco Stroke and Coat today, which are the Wonder Glaze. They're so awesome to work with. Someone asked about stoneware. Like you could use these for a stoneware project, couldn't you, Krista? They lighten.
Yes, you should look on each jar that we have of Stroke and Coat, and I'll grab one. Well, you might not be able to see me very big. Anyway, on the back of any low fire glaze, there's a little white box, and in that box it says mid-range results. And so stoneware is fired to what we call mid-range, cone 6, and it will say if it changes, if it doesn't change, it'll say on there exactly what it does. If you have that on the, and of course those pieces shrink. Sometimes with reds and oranges, they can get a little orange peely if you do too many coats of them. So I would just really keep those coats not super heavy if you're doing red and oranges. But the other option is to use the stoneware gloss glazes, and they can be mixed as well. And they were designed specifically for stoneware.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's 2 different options there.
I also definitely, if you have not, definitely check out Mayco's website, because they have done so much testing for you. So you can see all of those low fire, like the Wonder Glazes fired at higher temperatures, and they show you what they look like. Like,
yes,
it's incredible, all the combinations and different products that you've tested out. It's so awesome, and it saves your customers so much time and product for testing it themselves. So thank you, Mayco.
Yeah. Yes, you're welcome. We have a big team that takes care of all these things.
Oh my gosh, like you've thought of everything, really.
Well, the website really is great. We redid it in 2020, perfect timing to sit and work on a website.
Oh,
Kind
no
of a crazy
kidding.
time,
Yeah.
but yeah, our marketing team did a really great job on that.
Yes.
So I will do, why don't we do, while you're
work.
tracing, I'm sorry, do I have time to do a trivia question while you're tracing?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is just for fun. This is just a fun one. We'll do some prizes in a little bit, but this is a fun one. Oh, somebody said they think you could iron the tissue paper to get the folds out. Yeah, I guess you probably could if you use like a pressing cloth or something, like a really, they make this pressing cloth so you don't burn your clothes, really fine clothes. That's a good idea. Okay.
I mean, I'm way too lazy to iron clothes, but yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay. So where in the world is and you put your answers in the chat, where in the world is the largest Easter egg museum?
Oh, that would be pretty. Okay, I'm just gonna throw it out there while you guys are answering. This would be another cool project to do on like Easter eggs, like Easter egg shaped plates or actual Easter eggs. I mean, okay, it might be a little difficult to put it on Easter eggs, but I'll show you how I did this one, and maybe you could do that same kind of idea.
So we have our guesses right here are Finland, Ukraine, San Diego.
Ukraine makes a lot of sense with their beautiful eggs.
But that is not correct. So you people must guess again. Terry got it right. Poland. Congratulations, Terry.
Oh, I like doing this because I learned stuff too.
I know. There's a couple of trivia questions that Lindsay came up with that I will say, even that there are people on this call that should know them because of where they're located. Say it that way. I thought, I just crossed those out. But no, it'll be fun to see. So I did count where there are, let's see, 32 countries. I'm sorry, 32 states represented and 13 countries in this class.
Wow.
Yeah, not all of them are here, at the moment, but we have like, I don't know, 50 some people here. Okay, so Jen has a question about the tracing. Jen, you can unmute yourself if you want, or you can type your question, either way.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi,
So
Jen.
I'm watching you as you do this, and I just want to clarify that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. So when you are going and doing the leaves, if you want them to appear in the background, you're only tracing the part that goes past the flower.
Correct. Yeah. Here, let me hold this up a little bit closer so you can see. So those leaves that I just did, these two here. Yeah, I just traced them to go up to the edge of that flower.
So if you wanted to put one between like the rose and the hydrangea, how would you do that? Or is
Like in the
that not
foreground?
yeah, would you not recommend, like you always recommend doing the flowers first and then doing the leaves behind it?
Oh no, you could do it any way you like. If you wanted to add a flower in here, you could just erase it. So let me find a little flower. So if let's say I wanted to have this little, no, we'll do this one. This little leaf, if I wanted to have it, like you said, between the hydrangea and the rose, it is a little like busy because I'm seeing a bunch of lines, but I can still, from my point of view, I can still clearly see that leaf underneath. So I could go ahead and, like, if I wanted, I can erase all these lines that are overlapping it right now. And then I can just trace in that leaf, which would then look like it's in front of those ones. So it's in the foreground and now the flowers are in the background. I'll show you that. So now it looks like that leaf's on top.
Very cool. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for
So
asking.
yeah, erase. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking. Because I'm so good at just sticking and doing it the same way I always do. So I appreciate questions like that.
Right. And so surely somebody else probably had the same question. So it's good to know. Good to ask.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Always good question.
Yep, absolutely. No such thing as a dumb question.
Right.
All right. I think what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I painted oh boy, I've got so much stuff on my desk now. I don't know where things are. So I'm going to paint this plate. I'll do half of it because, like I said, I mirrored it. So I'll show you how I did the half. But then with this other design that I just did, I will show you how I would paint that on the larger salad plate. So I might not finish all of them tonight. I'll show you half of them, give you some tips on how to do that. But just so we get this thing moving, I'm going to, I'll start by transferring this one because maybe when I'm doing the other one, you could do some trivia, Krista, but I'll show how I do this one. So I did trace this one out with the salad plate design. So I'm kind of going off of that plan now. But as you can see, this tissue paper fits pretty well over the salad plate. And because I'm not sticking to my original plan of having it on the salad plate, I have more space so I can move this around a little bit more. So I think what I might do is I can see the edge of the plate underneath, is I might just kind of fit it, and then, you know, I can go back after and add more if I want, but just so that it kind of like sits in like the bottom corner like that. That's what I'm going to go for. So you can leave the whole sheet. The other option too is you can cut out like the tracing of the shape of the piece that you're working on, which again I'm not doing because my plans got out the window. But I've also used in the past, I've used just a little bit of tape just to keep the tissue paper down so it doesn't shift too much. But now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer it right on with the Sharpie. This is the part where if you have Mayco's carbon paper, you could transfer it that way. Up to you, personal preference. I just prefer this one because I'm trying to match it, you know, the same size. Because I have this big sheet, I'm just going to do it with the tissue paper because then I can see the plate underneath and know exactly where it's going. If you wanted to use the Mayco transfer paper though, okay, I don't have any up here with me, but here's how I would do it. So if I was using the Mayco transfer paper, I would take my tissue paper template. I would definitely cut it out so that I know it fits and it's the same size. I would put a piece of tape on the tissue paper and the plate so that this is not going anywhere. And then you could go ahead and put the Mayco carbon paper underneath and then transfer it on. And then you know it's going to line up and it's going to be, you know, perfectly centered and all that. And it's going to fit the shape of your piece. That's just my big concern when I go use things. I just don't know where it's going to end up. Maybe it's not going to end up in the right spot. So if you're doing the Mayco carbon paper, definitely cut out your tissue design or yeah, and then tape the top and then just put it underneath. So that's how I would do that. If that's what you're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead. So that's what's fun about this too, is if you get it on your piece, like because I've abandoned my original plan, I don't think now that this is enough. So I can go ahead and transfer this on and then decide later, oh, you know what? I think that needs a little bit more. I can go and do that too. I can just kind of eyeball it and line it up again. But for using the Sharpie, I like the fine point one, which is actually kind of relatively thick, I guess. But there are like the more fine point, like super fine Sharpies. I've had issues with the glaze crawling from that Sharpie. I don't know why that Sharpie in particular causes issues, but I have noticed issues like that before. So that's just something to consider. But now I'm just going to go ahead and transfer some leaves. And then as you can see, there's a mark right there. Perfect for me to follow. So if you wanted to do, you know, make this a little bit more sped up of a process and not have people or yourself, like customers, paint them in, you could just do the outline. So basically what I'm going to outline with the Sharpie is what you could do. I showed that picture. I can show that again in a minute of the plate that I did where I just did a darker blue underglaze with a fine liner brush. I did the outlines and didn't like color them in or paint them in with color. And then I put a sheer foundation glaze on top, which is really pretty. You could also do this design. You could go over it in French dimensions, which will give it a little bit of texture. It is not food safe though, so it would be best for a non-functional piece. So like Mayco's clay canvas pieces I love those. Those are so much fun. And that would give you just so many options for ideas. Nice and simple.
Okay, here's a trivia question. How many tulips bloom in the Netherlands each spring?
A lot.
How many
that highway
bloom in the Netherlands each spring? Doesn't have to be an exact number. The answer we have listed here is more than blank. It's a big number. Y'all keep guessing. Oh, somebody has the answer, but I won't say it yet. I'm gonna let y'all keep guessing some. There's some good guesses
already. Wow.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love trivia.
I do.
All right. Oh, the question. Okay, here's the question. The question again was, how many tulips bloom in the Netherlands each spring? There are several people with the right answer. Ooh.
Nice. Okay, I'm curious after when you say it, do they know that's the answer or are they just throwing a number out there?
There's a couple. This is good. Okay, so wow. Are you guys Googling this or y'all just really smart? Look at this. All right. I'm going to give y'all the answer. You ready? Okay. The answer is more than 7 million. So iPad, I don't know who iPad is. Jen and Helene. Who else? Gail. Ruth, Sandra, Fran said more than 7 million, and somebody else said 8 million. I can't see their name now. Rick said 8 million. Kathy said 7 million. This is great. So, and then more than 7 million. So that's so crazy. And because we have people on in the call, well, from that signed up for the class from the Netherlands. So I don't know if they're on here or not, but I think it's so crazy that y'all, I was like, I always didn't want to say it. Oh, it was in a Southern Living magazine this spring. Oh, so everybody knows that answer because of that. Or maybe y'all are just really smart. I just think that y'all are just really smart. So very good.
Oh, definitely.
That's a good one.
I saw a video of like, there's like a highway between some of those tulip gardens, and it's just like, that was like, I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, that's on my bucket list now. Like, it's stunning.
Yeah.
All the colors and how like precisely lined up and like in rows. Holy moly, it's so beautiful. So when I was in Barbados, I was in there in March earlier this year, so not that long ago. We went to this really cool garden. It was called Hunt's Garden. Hunt's with an E if anyone wants to check it out. But it's this absolutely stunning garden that someone built in a sinkhole. So it's really cool because you kind of like walk down these stairs that take you lower and lower, but it felt like I was in another world. Like, it was so surreal. It was almost like Avatar. Like, that's it, the leaves were that big, the colors were that bright. Like, it was absolutely stunning. And I've been to Barbados before, but I'd never been to this Hunt's Garden before. And I think that was the perfect time for me to go because I appreciated it to the absolute fullest extent. But oh my gosh, it was so cool. And we were lucky we got to go on a good day. It wasn't too sunny. It was kind of shaped like cloudy, so we weren't dying of heat, but it was absolutely beautiful.
How cool. Kathy says she's seen them in person, the tulips. How long is beautiful. This class? Someone wants to know how long the class is. A couple of hours, we think?
Yep. So we started at 5. I think we said till, well, it's 5 my time, so 7.
5 mountain time, yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's my alarm going off.
Eastern, 7 o'clock. So someone's asking, okay, here's the question. I have never used stroking coat. Can this be used next to elements under glaze, or should this be used on separate pieces? If together, glaze only on elements. Okay, yes, you can use stroking coat with elements. We have some projects on our website that actually have elements first and then stroking coat on top. What happens is, because the elements can be kind of reactive, the stroking coat can look a little different. Like, we've done some stroking coat and put some elements on it, and that black, like a black tuxedo stroking coat with elements on it or on top of the elements can look a little different. So yes, you can fire them together on the same piece, just know that they're going to change a little bit. And we do have some projects where we've layered the Cascades with the elements. Cascades are like a low fire flux. There's a white and a clear. And we've also used stroking coat with those projects too. So a lot of the Mayco cut products can be intermixed, or, layered together on the same piece.
Yeah, you can do like that beautiful peacock technique.
Yeah, right. It's like the elements. There is a low fire version of the peacock technique that is so popular in stoneware that you can see, but the elements on a vertical surface can move a little bit, especially if you have a flux. So you have to be careful with that. Oops, there's some more people.
Question.
Yeah, I have to make sure I let people into the room because some people pop in. Oh, let's see. Here's another question. Now, there's somebody on here that's going to know this answer, and I hope they get it right. What are the spring months in Australia? Okay, you people.
Because we just entered spring here.
Right. Okay. Some good answers. We have the correct one so far. Oh, we have a couple correct ones. Oh, all these super smart people. Was this in Southern Living also?
What was that?
I said, was this maybe in Southern Living also? Yes, this will be recorded. Somebody said they missed the Eastern time for the thing, but yeah, this whole thing will be recorded or is being recorded. And our Kelly, our graphic designer, will probably do a little editing to get some of the beginning off and any little things like that, but we'll send it out by email, the link to the recording. So yes, you smart people, springtime in Australia is September to November. And if the Australian person is on here, I hope you responded and got it right. Who's here from Australia? Victoria, Sarah, and Elise. I don't know. And Vicky.
Nice.
Yeah, Sarah, she did. Good job, Sarah, for knowing your own country's seasons. I'd have to think about ours. That's great.
We had snow in the forecast the other day. Luckily it didn't, but you never know with Calgary. You know what I saw for the first time the other day, Krista? I saw the Northern Lights.
Oh, I saw your picture.
Oh,
I think that is
my
so
goodness.
cool. Has anybody ever seen the lights? Oh, that's incredible.
I had like the most childlike reaction. I was so excited because there was like, they've been in Calgary, I don't know, maybe January, February, and we missed them. And so I was really bummed because I've never seen them before. And we were out walking our dog and we were walking on our street, and we were walking by this house that has a bunch of animals, and they have a cat that I love seeing because I love cats. And I saw the Northern Lights out of the corner of my eye. I saw this green glow in the sky, and I turned around and I went, and at first my boyfriend thought I was just excited because the cat was there, but it was the Northern Lights. And I could not believe it. I was so excited. It didn't last a very long time. And unfortunately, just because we're really close to downtown Calgary, it's there's a lot of light pollution. So it was very faint and it didn't last too long, but I was able to get a picture and I was so excited.
Oh, that's
they are cool. So beautiful. It's so like ethereal. Like it's like, wow, it was stunning. So I was so happy to see that.
Incredible.
Yeah. So now when I go for walks at night, I'm always up looking at this. Although I didn't know this, you can, there's like a forecast for when there's going to be Northern Lights. I did not know that. I thought they just appeared. I didn't know you could kind of know when they were going to come.
Yeah. I wondered about that.
Yeah. Cause I was telling someone about it and they said that they'd gone to like the Yukon to see them and they didn't. And then here we saw it on our street.
Yeah. Just walking the dog.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. You're still tracing there.
I'm still tracing. I'm almost done, and then we can get to painting.
Okay, well, we'll do one more trivia question while you're tracing. Okay, this one is for a prize. And so, if you can name 3 of the 5 new stroke and coat colors without peeking.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can name 3 of the 5 new stroke and coat colors without peeking, you win the 5 new stroke and coat colors.
Nice. It's a good prize. I think I still have some of them from when they were Dunkin' colors. So that tells you how old they are. Well, it's not that old, but I'm almost out of them. So I'm glad I can reorder some of them.
Let's see. All right. Tiffany got it. She's the first one to get it.
Nice. Congrats.
She spruced it up and then she had to give me an and then gave me lavender. Very good.
Nice. Congrats. Now I'm curious,
did you say her name was Tiffany? Yes, Tiffany Shank.
The winner?
Yes.
Tiffany
it's actually lavender, but I'll give it to you because you said lavender.
Tiffany, are you a paint your own pottery studio owner or are you a ceramicist independently from studios?
I'm a paint your own pottery studio.
Cool.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm Western Nebraska.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
And I actually
have you use
2 of the new colors. So that's how I knew the new colors.
Oh, awesome. Do you use Mayco in your studio as well?
Yeah, we just use stroke and coat for the most part, and then the stonewares.
Awesome.
Nice.
I would kind of want to be selfish and keep them for myself if I had a studio.
No,
I get to play with them first before customers do. That's what I would do.
that's right. Way to
Fair's
go, Rick.
fair. All
All
right.
right. We'll do some more
So
trivia.
I'm going to start. Yeah, we'll do more for sure. So I'm going to start with painting just half of my salad plate, because this is the design that I did where I mirrored it. So I'll just show you how I do half of it, not all of it. So the colors that I worked with, so if you don't have the exact same ones, that's okay. I did post in one of my Instagram stories that if you wanted to participate and didn't have the same colors, that's totally fine. But what you would need would be 2 greens. So I have Stroke and Coat 79, it's Sage, which is my favorite green. I think I use it too much. Stroke and Coat 93, which is Honeydew List, which I really like. I hadn't used this one a whole bunch. So I obviously learned a few things about that, and I will show you what I mean. So on this piece here, I did 3 solid coats of Honeydew. So that's a pretty good contrast between the white bisque background and the Honeydew List with 3 coats. But when I did the Honeydew List just 1 coat, it's not super contrasted. I don't know why I said that. So that's one thing that I'll point out. I wish I'd gone a little bit darker with that. But the reason I said to have 2 green colors is so that you can mix 2 of them equal amounts, so like 50-50, to make a 3rd green color so that you have more variation of colors. I tried to stick with spring colors for this, but obviously you can do it in whatever colors you would like. So if you want more than 2 greens, go ahead, do more than 2 greens. But what I did was I used, like I said, equal parts of the Honeydew List and the It's Sage. So you can see on this leaf here, I've got the solid It's Sage as like the vein of the leaf, but the actual leaf color is an equal mixture of the Honeydew List and the It's Sage, so that I have an in-between green color. So 2 greens. The other one that I have that I said that would be good to have is a white. So I used Stroke and Coat 86 Old Lace. This was another color too, where I thought it was dark and like darker than just white to be able to paint with it on its own. My eye can very faintly in person point out that I did these little like snowdrop flowers with that, but unfortunately, just with the contrast of the white bisque background, it's not dark enough. So I did some experimenting for you, and I can tell you what not to do. So what I would do is I would probably tint that a little bit more with either the pink or the blue or the yellow. So the primary kind of colors that I used Stroke and Coat's 42 Butter Me Up, Stroke and Coat 17 Cheeky Pinky, and then Stroke and Coat 65 Periwinkle. So I thought those were really good spring colors. And then with that Old Lace kind of off-white color, I can create different variations by tinting it and adding the white to get different colors of it. So that just gives me, you know, it kind of narrows my options, which is a good thing. I don't have every color available to me to paint this, because then I'd be here forever. So I've just stuck with 6 colors to be able to create different tints of the 3 main primary colors that I have: the Butter Me Up, the Periwinkle, and the Cheeky Pinky. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you how I design or how I paint some of these flowers, just to give you some tips, because some of them, especially this chrysanthemum one, it's a little weird looking. Let me show you the template of it. It's a lot of lines. So if you're doing it all in one color, it would kind of just, you wouldn't get to see the individual like petals. It would be more of a blob. So this is November flower, which is the chrysanthemum. So what I wanted to do was obviously have an obvious separation between each petal. So I will show you how I did that. So I painted the majority of this plate with a liner brush, just a nice thin one. Then I have better control, I find, with those. So I'm just going to fill up my tray. There's my Cheeky Pinky and my Old Lace. So I'll start with the chrysanthemum if anyone is painting along. And then I've got the old lace. So this was kind of related to the question. I think it was Jen that asked about when I'm designing with the templates, do I do the leaves first? Do I do the flowers first? I'll again leave that up to your discretion, because some of these flowers, like this chrysanthemum that I'm about to do, it is in the foreground. So those leaves are in the background. So I mean, stroke and coat's great with its coverage. So if you wanted to do the leaves first and then paint that flower on top of it, you'll probably be okay to make sure that you don't have the green showing through the flower. But because I'm doing this chrysanthemum with a lot of white, I actually painted the leaves after. So I just kind of painted around those petals to fill the green in. So your choice. But on this flower that is kind of like the forget-me-not, you could definitely paint the leaves and then just use that darker periwinkle color to go over the green. But I think for most of these, I painted the leaves after. I think I painted the leaves last. So your choice though. And that's what's nice about doing these workshops, is you can try it for yourself, gives you better suggestions to offer for your customers. And then if you did like an event or a night where you have your staff doing it themselves, that gives them better voice to tell customers how to do it as well. So I'm all for getting your hands messy and trying it yourself before you do a workshop, so that you can answer questions easier. So for this chrysanthemum, I'm just using my liner brush. I'm going to dip it in the old lace, and then just the very tip of my brush, I'm going to dip in the cheeky pinky. And now I'm just going to, so there are some of the leaves, petals of the flower, like at the top here, that are kind of in the background. Those ones I am going to do first. So all I do is I just push my brush down and pull, and there's my leaf. Or my petal, I guess. I'll do it again. So I'm kind of refilling my brush with pink paint every brush stroke, I guess, just so that I have an equal amount.
Lindsay, pull your plate back towards you just a little bit, because we can't really see.
Oh, thank you, Krista.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. That's okay. Okay, thank you.
That's better, yeah.
Okay. So the one thing that you will maybe want to do is just kind of do every other petal for the time being, just so that you're not like, I don't want to paint this petal in between these two wet ones, because I don't want to disrupt that paint now that's drying. So you can just go back and fill them in between, but I'm just going to place my brush down and pull. So that's a really nice, easy way. And I'm only going to do these chrysanthemum petals. I'm only going to paint them once. I'm not going to go back and do like a second and third coat on those. I kind of like the idea that they'll be a little bit translucent in some spots, but you'll get to see more of that pink blended in. Plus that would be so much work to do all these little details 3 times.
Well, that's what's so cool about stroke and coat, because it's so highly pigmented. Even with the one coat on that light color, it's still going to show up, and it's going to give it depth, because you'll have some with more layers and some with less. I think it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. You can see kind of the variation of the white and the pink. So I'm just going to let those dry for a little bit. Then I'll go back and I will do those other petals that are in between, just because I don't want to disrupt those, and I don't want them to blend or meddle together and have no individual petal. So now I'm going to clean my brush, and let's move on to the hydrangeas. Those little cuties. So kind of similar actually to how, actually I did these solid yellow. So you could do that. What I did was I used the tinted yellow, and then I did the solid butter me up, just to do that little dot in the middle, so that there is a little bit of contrast. So that's what I'm going to do. But again, that's a flower where I'm just going to paint one coat. I'm not going to go back and fuss over it and paint a bunch of coats. So I'm just going to take another brush, and I'm going to mix some of that old lace into the butter me up and just mix it together. I love doing that. That's my favorite. That's another way too. You could do individual petals, is instead of like dipping your brush in one color and then the other, you could just take 2 colors, start to sort of mix them in your tray, but not completely until it's like all one uniform color. Just that you can see, you know, like a marble kind of look, and then dip your brush in it and then paint with that. You could do that too. There we go. So now I've got my really pretty, nice pastel kind of yellow. And then again, with my nice little liner brush, I'm just going to go and paint in these hydrangea flowers. So some of these flowers have 4 petals, some of them have 3, but same kind of what I did with the chrysanthemums. I'm just going to push my brush down and pull. So then you kind of get that like tapered look for the petal shape. So I'm just going to go and fill all those in. And again, I'm just doing the one coat. I'm not going to go back and fuss and try and line those up and fill them in with more color. I just one coat. Plus you can kind of see like there's a good amount of paint. Sorry, there we go. There's a good amount of paint on that brush. Like it's quite concentrated. So there is a good amount of it. So I probably don't even need to do more. It's not like I'm doing it watercolor where it's super translucent or anything. So I am doing quite a bit of paint. So if you have like not a turntable, like one of those,
Like a
is that
banding
the
wheel?
word?
Like a banding
Oh
wheel?
my gosh. Yes. My brain totally blanked on that word. Those would definitely come in handy. They're not absolutely necessary, but it would be easier because then you're handling the pottery less. But that would definitely come in handy for something like this if you wanted to. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm just holding
Lazy
it on my
Susan,
hand.
Marlene said. Yeah, Lazy Susan.
That's good too.
Yeah. You could also use like a washcloth or something and have it on the table so somebody could just kind of spin it around so they don't constantly have to touch it, but they also don't have to constantly scratch around the table, you know, not making that terrible
Oh
noise.
my God, I have never thought of that.
There you go.
It's probably a good thing you couldn't see my face just then because it was just like, oh my God.
He also she uses Lazy Susan too. That's a good idea because they're low also. You know, the banding wheels can be higher and I like to have my arm rested on something.
Yeah, that's true because I find when I use a banding wheel, because I have to like lift my arm and my elbow up more, it hurts my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I get injuries from painting.
Yeah, right. I was at Mayco one time learning a bunch of projects for I think a pottery camp or something, and I had to go get a massage after because I was so cramped up from painting all day long.
Like posture is so important when you're painting because it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like you're doing anything strenuous to like hurt your neck or your shoulder muscles, but your head weighs a lot. And those core muscles are working overtime when you're sitting there hunched over, which is exactly what I do. I have terrible posture.
Yeah. All right, let's have another question.
Yeah.
Should this be just for fun?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about, what happens at the North Pole when spring comes? All right, smarty people. What do you have there? What happens at the North Pole when spring comes? That's some good questions and good answers so far.
Oh, nice. While people are answering, I'm just going to go back and I'm going to do the other leaves on the chrysanthemum.
I'm going to read out some of these answers. It gets cold.
Yes, please do.
Northern lights. The reindeer eat the grass. Snow melts. Baby polar bears. Oh, we're never getting some more answers here. The days start to get longer. Sun rises. Any other ideas, people? Well, they're doing
The reindeer
well.
eat the grass.
More sunlight.
I like that answer.
More sunlight for 24 hours. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. 6 months of uninterrupted daylight. So Helene and Scarlett And you said more
Crazy.
sunlight, 24 hours. I think you were right on it. 6 months of uninterrupted daylight. Can you imagine?
No. I love the sun though, so I'd be very happy about it. I am not a
Wow.
cold weather person. So actually I wouldn't live there because it'd be cold.
Oh, that's good. All right. Nice job.
Nice. My boyfriend's cousin went there for she had some job in the Yukon working or something like that. But she was there at the opposite time. So there was no sunlight and it was just night all the time.
Oh, that'd be miserable.
That would get to me. I don't know if I could do that. All right, so I finished my chrysanthemum. I went and filled in all the lines because those petals that are in the background have dried. I also finished my little hydrangeas. I'm gonna let those dry a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go back in with the solid Butter Me Up, and I'm just gonna do a little dot in the middle. So I think in the meantime, I'm gonna work on these kind of little like rosette flowers here. And I was talking before about how you could kind of have mixed colors appear on the plate by two ways, either dipping your paintbrush in the white and then the pink and then swirling them on like I did with the chrysanthemum. But for this one, I've kind of got some white in my cheeky pink tray. So I'm just going to dip my brush in that. And then it's kind of already mixed for me. And then for these little rosette kind of things, I just kind of go in like a circle motion. And then, well, I can see it. There's a little bit of white, but if you want to have more definition, then you can just dip like your liner brush in the white and then just go back in and swirl them together on the plate like that, which is fun. Just kind of makes it look like there's more highlighted individual petals. So 2 ways to do that, your choice for sure. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to add more weight. I think that's how I did it before too. There, those are done. So for some of the other color flowers, so I think this is kind of like, I don't know what we're going to call that flower. It's just a flower. But what I did for that one is because some of the petals are in the foreground, I want those darker to obviously look like they're shadowed, and they are further away than closer. So I'm going to use the solid Butter Me Up for this little back spot. And then in the front, I'm going to have that mix from earlier where I had the Butter Me Up tinted with the old lace. So that's how I do that. So some things with this project, when you have things that are in the background and the front and the foreground, it's just paint one bit, leave that, let it dry, go on to something else, and then come back. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh, except for I need to pour the yellow. I think what's nice too about doing like painting things this way, like without obviously doing the solid 3 coats, is you don't need a lot of paint because a little goes a long way, especially with how stroke and coat applies. You can push it around quite a bit. So that is all filled in. I'm going to let that dry and then I'll go back to it. So now I'll just use some of the leaves because some of these that I have are just leaves. There's no flower around them. So I'll do some of those so you can see too. So I've got my Stroke and Coat 79. It's Sage. And it's shade color.
This is such a great class for like a girls' night out that they want a project, but they don't want to have to follow strict instructions or like a
yes,
because you can pay attention, but if you don't, it's not going to be the end of the world.
I agree. Yeah, I tried doing those events where it was step by step, and maybe someone spends more time on one step and then they fall behind. Then you have to make everyone else wait to get them caught up. So yeah, this is great where everyone can kind of do it at their own pace. I mean, if this is something that you do, you could have like a little tile for an example for your suggestions on how to paint certain flowers.
Oh, that's a
or
good
if
idea.
they decide to do, or if they decide to do like, oh, okay, hold on a second. Let me bring out examples so I can make this train of thought make sense. So I've got two templates for flowers. So these ones obviously are much more simple. Those ones could be done with just one color because there isn't any overlapping petals in them like this chrysanthemum that I'm doing. You wouldn't need to have any colors mixed. So that could just be boom, one color done. So that just makes it a little bit easier. So if someone's maybe if you have a customer that comes into your studio that is more familiar with how your paints work or the process, or just have painted more often, maybe they'll be more comfortable and confident to do a flower like that. But if you have someone that's maybe a beginner, just these kind of bold shapes, that might be an easier way to go too. So there's just so many options that you can do with these that I just absolutely love. And I know there's kind of like that folk art kind of style is in right now. These flowers are designs that I drew myself on an app on my iPad called Procreate. So I have like the Apple Pencil. So I drew these out and then I printed them. But if you don't have an app like that, where you just don't have the time or whatever, you could definitely go on to like Canva and all the elements that they have on their site that's already available for you. You could make kind of your own. You could just find shapes that it doesn't even have to be flowers. It could be whatever you want, but that's just another option I think some studios have them. I think there's one and they call them traceables. So you could just have like a binder of traceables for your customers, where you have these printouts available for them. And then you just have a pile of plain tissue paper where they can go grab that and make their own design with the traceables that you have. You can, like, this is obviously this piece of tissue paper I have, I'm using it again. I've used it twice. You can definitely use it more than once. However, it does get a little bit complicated to know where you've already drawn something. So, this time that I'm doing it, it's fine because the previous time I did it, I used the fine point Sharpie over the pencil that I traced the design with. So you can see what you've already transferred over or traced over. But now that I've gone to this side and I'm using a thicker Sharpie, I can still tell what I've traced because you can see the difference. But if this were to now all be filled in with thick Sharpie, like if it all looked like this, and you have someone come and try and trace all that, it just might be a little bit confusing for them to know what they've already traced. So they might, do this flower, this one, this one, this one, but they forget the leaves or something. They might not notice that until they take the tissue paper off and then be like, oh no, I forgot something. So you can definitely have these used more than once, but if you're having a customer doing it, it might just be a little bit easier for them to make their own. And then that way it's their own. But you can use those again. So up to you, but you can definitely have these, traceable printouts available and use them over and over again.
Some people, a couple people commented that you could use a different colored Sharpie for the second time if you wanted to do it. So that's a good idea too.
Oh, yes, that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Smart
Very
people.
smart. Oh, so many smart people.
I'm telling you.
Well, obviously they're smart. They signed up for this free event.
That's right.
Okay, now I'm going to do some of my leaves. So I'm going to take like a 50-50 kind of mixture of the It's Sage and then the Honeydew List. And I'm going to mix those in their own little paint pot well. So now I'm going to have 3 green colors instead of just 2. But this would be so pretty, like if you wanted to do like a monochrome look, like just have like a light purple and a dark purple and then mix them to make kind of a middle tone purple. That'd be beautiful too. I just wanted to go for something springy, but I just love that not only are there endless options for how this design will look, but also like in design, but also in color. Like that's just my favorite part to see after we do a workshop and everyone posts what they've done. I love it.
Yeah, because you could do different types of flowers for different seasons. You could do these in really bright colors. You could do holiday greenery. Some of your templates, I know you take greenery too, or fall colors. There's so many options.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
so
like
these are something that can be. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
I was just gonna say. Sorry.
You're
Hey, you go
first. You
first.
go. You go.
No, you go.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I love that you're mixing colors together because you can do that so easily. And then if you're having a class, you don't have to have 5 million colors. You know, if you're doing an offsite event, you just take a few and then teach them how to mix them.
Yes, yeah, I like that too. And then so many options too for that based on what colors you're mixing. But I think one of the things that that I've approached you with when I approach you with ideas for doing classes like this, I like to try and think of things that are design style, like what you've named it, not seasonal style. So I like to try and think of something like, how can this be used in people's studios every month rather than having to wait until a certain time of year to use it. And the reason I have this template where it has every birth month's flower. I mean, yes, that works perfectly that you could do it for Mother's Day, but also you could have like a monthly workshop like this in your studio. Have a workshop for April babies and have them come in and paint daisies on things. Have one for May babies with Lily of the Valley as the flower that you're painting. So I think that's just really cool because there's different ways you could do it. You could make it specifically April, May, June, or you can hold it all year and then people can come in at any time and do something like this. So that's kind of where I'm trying to, challenge myself to where is something, because the other events that I've done with Mayco have been seasonal. So I like this idea that it can be used any time of the year. And obviously spring is a no-given to do florals. I'm so excited. I'm starting to see little green things poking out of our garden, but I can't help but feel sorry for them because I just know Calgary and I know there's going to be snow at some point and it's going to kill them. Poor little flowers. They're trying. So when I do the stems pieces, I'm using the I'm using the liner brush again. But what I like to do is I always start with the brush at the bottom of the stem so that when I push down on my brush, there's going to be like a thicker application of paint. So you can start with a thicker base and then work your way up so that you have a thinner stem at the top. So that's my key. That's what I like to do too. So I'll show you that as kind of an example. So this one here, I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to put a little bit more weight on my brush, and then I'm going to pull. And as I pull, I'm going to pull the brush up. So I get more of a tapered line. So I go from thinner to thick from the bottom to the top. So that's my tip for that. It's all just about how much pressure you are putting on your brush. So pretty much all of the green that I've done so far is that mixture of It's Sage and Honeydew List. So this is kind of that mid green color. But I'll go in with solid It's Sage and solid Honeydew List and do some darker and lighter leaves. And then I can do, I can do veins on them like that one I just painted. I could then take the It's Sage and I can do the darker color as like the veining to give it some contrast. So that's what I'm working on now. It's kind of fun. You could kind of make it almost like a paint by number if you wanted to, like if someone was really methodical with their planning of how they paint. If that makes it easier for them, they can map out where they want certain colors to go so that they can just get to painting rather than deciding what color goes where.
Lindsay, with a question. Have you ever tried putting on a background color before this design?
Oh, I was gonna say that too. I have not.
Oh, and here's another question.
I have
Wait,
not.
this one, hang on. I want to answer this one real quick before we keep going so she can start painting. 3 coats on the leaves. Is that what you said?
I'm just doing one.
Okay. All right. Now go back to the question about background color. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you for not letting me get too ahead of myself. Yeah, you could absolutely do a darker color or even a lighter color or just a background color. I've always opted not to do that just because I really like painting little dainty things versus painting an entire plate of color. So I'm just too impatient for that. But yes, you can. That would be beautiful. I mean, obviously, Mayco Stroke and Coat is really great with having light colors painted on top of dark. You could even use like a foundation color. You could use oh, actually, Krista, there's a question. If you painted this a background color, could you do foundation sheer and then stroke and coat on top, or would it be best to do opaque foundations and then stroke and coat on top, or is it just best to stick all stroke and coat?
No, you can, the foundations are really great as I mean, they're meant to be a base, like a foundation to a project, like a base coat. So you could paint that on there and then do stroke and coat on top, do 3 coats of your foundation, and then you don't have to put clear glaze. You could do a matte foundation. There's just a couple of colors of those, and then stroke and coat would be glossy. It'd be really pretty on top, and you still have to flip it. And then another option still is if you have these colors, you do your stroke and coat directly on the piece and then do foundation sheer on top. It would be really pretty. And when it's so cool, because when you're painting foundation sheer, you do several layers of it. It says it on the jar, you know, read the label. But then you're covering it up and you're like, I'm not going to be able to see it when it's fired. And then you can. I mean, they're so cool. And there's a lot of
and that's yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have done, I guess I have done a background, but I did it at the end. So it, hold on, let me pull that picture up again real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me just move my camera real quick. So this is the one that I did where I didn't paint in all the flowers their own color. I just painted the outline and then with a dark color, and then I did a sheer foundation on top of it. Sorry, my computer's kind of frozen again, so when it decides to work off,
when time comes, yeah.
It's a new computer and it's just so fussy and picky.
That's okay. Well,
so yeah, I guess I have done a color.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And you could do the foundation sheer on the background. It doesn't have to be on top, but they work well on top because they are sheer, which is so cool. So they could be on the back, and that would be a nice translucent look.
I would really, well, I haven't done it, but I will now that I've said it. But the French dimensions with the sheer foundation over it, that would look really pretty. So here's the one that I've done. That's the one that I've done.
That's so pretty.
So yeah, and that's my background color one.
I like that. And I think you just mentioned French dimensions. You could do that or designer liner to add some detail to these, because I think the simple look is so nice. And then you can also, depending on the painter, they may want to add more depth or more layers or more textures. Texture's so popular. That'd be really cool to do.
Yeah, because you could do too, if you did like French dimension or designer liner, because you have those kind of almost walls of the paint, like dividing off each flower, you could do like a watercolor inside of the flowers that's kind of contained within that French dimension wall. So, oh my gosh, there's just so many things you could do.
Yeah, and you could puddle the color in there, do the French dimensions and let it dry, and then puddle your color in there in each flower. That would be really cool. And it doesn't take that long to dry. And then designer liner is a nice fine line. So there's a difference in those two. French dimensions is meant to be a puffy paint, but designer liner is meant for fine lines. So you don't want to do big, thick lines of that like you would French dimensions, because it can flake off. And French designer liner needs a clear glaze over it because it's not glossy. And I would actually clear glaze French dimensions too. I think it looks, just adds a nice little touch to it.
Yeah, I find some, depending, like if you're using French dimension, and let's say you're doing a French dimension outline of the flower and you're putting like an element glaze over it, that would be really pretty too. I have noticed that sometimes some element glazes can like flatten the French dimension. So rather than, like, you'll start with like a nice fine skinny line, but sometimes when it fires with the application of the elements, it kind of like flattens it, and that French dimension line kind of like thickens. I've just noticed that with some colors, but that could be my fault. Maybe I've watered it down or something, but just, there's so many options.
I know, always good to test. Tiles are great for that.
Yeah. Yes.
Or mugs or bases, depending on what you're going for.
Yeah, I am a very impatient, because I just am so eager to do things that I have done that and I have paid, I've paid the price.
Okay, we're gonna do another trivia question. This one is for some more of the Stroke and Coat colors. And
yeah.
let's see. How about what bird is often associated with spring in North America? Ooh. Everybody is getting it right. It is a robin.
Nice.
Let's see. Who was my first winner? Let's see. Oh, yeah. I think that was Tiffany was my first one. Well, let's see. The first answer person was Shelby. How about Jesse? How about Rotten? We have so many people. So Shelby, you're the first one. So you get to have the new Stroke and Coat colors sent to you.
Nice.
Or actually, I think you're in Canada. We'll have to send you a gift certificate. It'll be a little easier for you.
Us Canadians making it so much more difficult.
Yay. This is awesome.
This is a lot of fun. I am having a great time. I have been painting like crazy lately because I am doing my first in-person market in Calgary next weekend. And I have just been painting so much that it has not been necessarily enjoyable. It's a really nice change of pace that it's not something that, you know, I have to stress too much over. I'm having a lot more fun with this.
How are y'all's turning out? You people that are painting. You can show us or unmute yourself and tell us. If you want
Yeah,
to
I'd be curious if anyone's painting on something other than a plate.
Oh yeah, if you're doing a different thing. This would be really cute on a little animal or something.
Ooh, like a little bunny.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be cute? Yeah.
Not much time left to do that, but it would be cute.
No. But bunnies can be any time of year, really.
That is
It's like
very
trees.
true.
You know, we did a seasonal style back in October, November, and Lindsay had designed some of our wicker trees, and we had different aesthetics that she created. And they were all different. Like one was real earthy, one was bright, you know, they're all different things. And they're really, you see them all year now. Christmas trees with lights, they can be pink, they can be anything. Turn them into a lollipop tree, whatever. But our
I
wicker
love
trees
that. That's so
have the
smart.
texture on them. All right, let's do another trivia question just for fun. All right, I would not know this one. So somebody is really going to show me up because I have no clue. What are the spring zodiac signs? I have no idea. I mean, I know you have the answers, but I'm not going to tell y'all. Spring zodiac signs.
Should we tell them how many there are if that helps?
There's 3.
Because there's more than one.
There are 3.
Yeah.
So if you just put one, you can keep putting another one. There's 3 total. Uh-huh. Okay. Rhonda, you got it right. Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Very good, Rhonda. Where are you from, Rhonda? Oh, Nebraska. Cool.
I never knew like the zodiac signs because when I was growing up, both my dad and brother are Pisces and my mom and I are Leo. So I thought those were pretty much the only 2. So I would not have known the answer to that.
No, me either. I'm a Libra.
So I did say, yeah, I did say before that I left the leaves and did those at the end, but I've done the opposite. I just started doing one leaf and then I just did them all. So it really doesn't make a difference. You can do them in whatever order you like, but I had said that I'd do them at the end and I've done the opposite, but I just kind of stayed true to the, you know, the flower shaped petal that overlaps them. So I'm just not crossing that line. So I shouldn't have any issues if I overlap or. I'm not going to have any green showing through under a pale yellow or something. So I just started talking and got carried away.
Okay. I think that's going to happen in a studio. So it's good to have, good to do it and see what happens. So your customer won't freak out. So you can say it's going to be fine because we become like our customers when we start painting.
Oh, we do, don't we? Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. Well, I don't really have customers anymore, but yeah, know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Does anybody have any questions about anything that we're doing or that Lindsay's doing? I'm just sitting here reading questions.
Yeah, you can turn on your mic.
Yeah. What clear are you going to put over that? Rhonda wants to know.
Sorry, which clear glaze?
Yeah, you're talking about which clear, I think she wants to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I don't have a Mayco one. I just have my leftover Pure Brilliance Dunkin' glaze. Oh wait, don't
we'll remake that now.
Still make that? Hey, never mind. I don't feel bad. But I still had some Pure Brilliance left over in like a jug from when I closed my studio. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I don't have a tank big enough to dip them in. So I brushed it on with a fan brush once this is like completely dry. So that's what I'm using. But if you were doing like the one I'll just show it. This one, you could do like a sheer foundation over it. That would be really pretty. So I've got yellow, I've got pink, I've got blue. So you could paint that over it and that could be your clear glaze with 3 coats of that, just to give you another option.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm going to be doing Pure Brilliance, which is technically a dipping glaze, but I don't have room or space for a dipping tank anymore. So
yeah, I think you can do clear, and you can do a Spectaclear, you could do a foundation sheer. Depends on what you're doing.
Spectaclear would be really pretty.
It would. So there's 4
if
different.
you did the darker. If you did a darker background color and then you did the fairy dust Spectaclear with the sparkle, that would be really
Stardust.
pretty.
That'd be really pretty. It shows up best.
Stardust. Thank you. I always call it fairy dust. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just kind of went ahead. I'm now doing a mixed combination of Stroke and Coat Periwinkle and Old Lace. So I'm just doing a tinted version of that Periwinkle. I've got a lighter version of it. And I'm just kind of doing the same of what I said before about how I do my lines. I just start where I put a lot of pressure when I put the brush down and pull. So you kind of get that like teardrop tapered shape. And I'm just doing 1 coat of that. I'm not going to go back and do a bunch of coats to fill it in. I think what's nice too, though, because I'm doing that like teardrop shape, when you let's show this little flower here. And I can see it in front of me, but maybe you can see it. There's just a little bit of translucentness to that because I don't have 3 full coats. You can kind of see a little bit of lighter spots on it. And I just like that texture and variation it shows. Gives it a little bit of depth by having that. So that I'm okay with it not having 3 coats on it. I mean, when I did this one, I did 3 coats. Some spots not super well, to be honest, but this one I wanted a little bit more solid. So because they're bigger flowers, so you're gonna notice that a little bit more. But because these are such small flowers, any kind of brush movement I'm okay with seeing, whereas on a larger scale, it'd be a little bit more obvious. If you wanted to do that though, where you just did 1 coat, I would definitely use like a much bigger brush than this one so that you have a wider brush that can like fill the entirety of that petal shape with 1 pass, if that makes sense, if I've explained that well. Now I'm going to do some of the solid pink for the background of this flower here, kind of the same as what I said for what I did with the yellow one here. So I want a darker pink in the background to show that it is in the background and that it's almost a little bit shaded. So I'm just going to fill that in. And then this front part, I'm going to use a mixed combo of Old Lace and Cheeky Pinky for a lighter color, a tint. It has taken me a very long time to like know the difference between a tint and a tone. And that always confused me because when people get their windows tinted on their car, they get tinted black. But when you're doing painting with art and you're tinting something, that's to add white. So that just always kind of throws me off. I always have to like stop and think if that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, I have to look it up all the time.
It's like, what's my left and right? I have to do that all the time too. So I'm doing another mixture of the old lace and the cheeky pinky. And I'm going to do these two little flowers on that stem there. And same as what I did with this pink periwinkle one I was talking about, I'm just going to place my brush and pull to the center to get that nice kind of tapered look. I think doing that kind of, brush stroke. I think that's the one thing that I learned most when I had my studio was that some people, and this is not an insult to them at all, but they don't know how to use a paintbrush. I think when people think of paintbrushes, they think of like a wall paintbrush where you dip in as much paint as you can and you go back and forth. But there's different ways you can manipulate your brush. So that was something that I always like to show as an example for people is you need to be nice to it. I always used to say when I had school groups coming in that the hairs on my brush were straight and they like to be kept straight. They didn't like to be smashed down and, pulled around. So I think it's just another way to get people to be a little bit more conscious of what they're doing. And obviously gives you good results, but it's funny. That's just how everyone perceived how to paint was to just, paint in the background, paint a full surface. So it's nice to make people kind of slow down and be more conscious of what they're doing. It's just a good way to relax and unwind by painting, and you can manipulate the brush to do different techniques and get beautiful results. But that was just the one thing that I noticed when I had my studio, that there was like brush using etiquette, I guess, that I would give to people. Now I'm going to do this big one here. This is the periwinkle, and I'm going to make it look a little bit like a forget-me-not. And like I said, that's my favorite, one of my favorite flowers. I think even though it's technically a weed, it's my favorite flower. My grandparents' garden used to have tons of it. And during the pandemic, we were fortunate enough, we got to stay at my grandparents' place. My nan had passed away and my grandpa was in a senior's home. So their big house was sitting empty. So my boyfriend and I got to stay in it for almost 3 months because our plan was to move back to Calgary. And then the pandemic happened. So that kind of halted things, but we got to stay there. And I have this really cute picture while we were at my grandparents doing our isolation. We got a puppy, and I have a really cute picture of her sitting in front of the forget-me-nots in my nan's garden, and it's just like my favorite picture. It's so cute. I'm very biased, but it's very cute. All right. So this is for this side. I'm almost done. The one thing that I mentioned before was that when I did this, the first time, I did these little lily of the valley or snowdrops, whatever you want to call them. I did them with just the plain old lace, and unfortunately, just with the one coat, it's not enough of a contrast between the bisque white background and that old lace color. So I'm going to use a tinted pink color for that, just so that you can see it better. And those ones are kind of similar to how I've done, like the same kind of technique that I did for these other flowers. I just, hold on, let me position this so you can see it best. It's got 3 little points at the bottom. So I'm just going to push my brush down and pull up. push my brush down and pull up. And then one more time in the middle. Now it looks like a cute little flower. So I know these are technically supposed to be white if I'm making it look like the actual flower, but it doesn't show up well enough for my liking. So this time around, I'm going to do it pink. A tinted pink. This is cheeky pinky mixed with old lace.
Yeah, I think if you were doing the whole plate, by the time you finished all the main parts of the flower, you'd be dry enough to go back and do your outlines.
Mhm.
Or details, whatever else you're going to add to.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I like to live a little dangerously and I will be too impatient to wait. Like
That's
this one
me.
here, I might go ahead and fill in this part, but I can see that it's dry enough that I'm not going to like mix into it. I'm just going to brush as closely up to that line as I can without mixing that darker color that's already on there. Sorry, this table is really creaky.
It's a bigger area too for that part, you know.
Mm-hmm. So the last flower that I have to paint is this middle one, which is a poppy, which is the August flower. It's interesting it's not September, but I guess birth flowers were assigned well before Remembrance Day.
Right.
But that would make sense. So now I'm going to do this poppy. I forgot to draw on my center, I'm now noticing, so I'm going to add that in after. But I'm going to do kind of the same thing that I did on these kind of, I don't know what kind of flowers those are. I'm going to do these folded flowers. They definitely look folded to me. Where I'm going to do the darker color in the background, and then I'm going to do lighter color on the foreground petals, just so that you can get that variation of light and dark. And because I don't have, I forgot to draw the center. But I'm still going to follow that shape with my brush so that you can see the brush strokes that separate each petal, if that makes sense. Because what happens when I'm doing this is, I mean, I've got a pretty good amount of paint on my brush there. So what I'm going to do when I push down and, make the outline of that petal, that's a very concentrated amount of paint right along that edge. So in the middle, it's going to be a little bit more translucent because I don't have as much paint there. So you're going to see a more defined edge. I think the other thing that I did too is I just left a tiny little gap between each petal so that you can see that there is in fact a difference. Oh, cute, a little heart. So I'm just taking my time. I'm not going to paint it in as if it's like one solid piece, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I feel like these are really good tips and things that you're like, I did not think about that. Like my customer would not know to put a lighter color on the outside. That's such a good thing to share, because your customer might just paint the whole thing solid, and just these little
Right,
simple
and then
things make it easy
Yep.
to get a really cool piece.
Yep. And then, when they get it back, they're like, oh, that just looks like a blob. Yeah, so that's why I think, like Ceramic Jam, like Pottery Camp, it's great that studio owners get a chance to try these out for themselves rather than seeing a picture of something they like, setting up a workshop, having people come in to paint it. And when they have questions, they don't know, they don't have an answer because they haven't done it themselves. So I just think that's such a great opportunity. Plus it's fun. Like when you do like I haven't been to Ceramic Jam, but Ceramic Jam and Pottery Camp, where you're with other like-minded people and you get to kind of, use your own tips and tricks that you get to share and chat back and forth. So I just think that's so much fun. Because when I opened my studio, I had so many resources for, if I need some help with accounting or if I needed something with my lease, like there were people everywhere to help answer those questions, but I did not know who to ask questions like this to. And there was another studio owner that invited me into the PYOP Facebook group. And that was the first group that I joined, but you know, there's so many, like Mayco's got like a low fire group, a high fire group, looks like a mudroom group. Like there's just so many groups. It's wonderful to go and you know, have all these resources available to you. And if you have a question, you can search, see if someone else has asked it, and then you can read other people's suggestions, or if you're the first to ask it. It's just, it's such a supporting community. I was even talking to someone the other day just through Instagram. You know, she was posting something and she's like, well, now I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. And I said, oh, you know what, try this. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, that didn't even occur to me that was like, you know, I've learned it from someone else. So that's information I'm not going to keep to myself. I'm going to pass that on and make it easier for someone else so that they don't have to go through the hardships of testing something themselves, which, I mean, Krista, that's what Mayco's done by having all those color combinations tested on your website. That has saved people so much time.
For sure.
From testing it themselves. I mean, I will say it probably doesn't save me time, because then I can't decide on which color combination I like best and want to do.
I know exactly.
But I love looking at the Mayco website, and there's always so many new projects that are showing up, and new projects and products. Like it's awesome. You guys have a great website. So pretty much everything's oh, I smudged my flower. Oh well. I can scrape that off. Most of my leaves are dry, most of my flowers are dry. So then you can go in and you can add in like the little details. I like to keep it simple with you know, especially with my leaves. I just like to do like kind of a simple line right in the middle. So you do kind of want to keep track of like what color is what, so that you're not putting like this leaf here that I just put that line on. That is the mix of the honeydew list and the It's Sage. So I want to be sure that I'm using either the honeydew list or the It's Sage on top of it. I don't want to use the same one and then it not show up. So that's just one thing to consider when you're adding these little details, is just keep track of what colors what. I'm just going to add little lines in, and same way that I did the stem, I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to work my way up so that I get a tapered line. And then most of the details that I have to do for the flowers is just to add little dots to the center. So that's not super hard or time consuming. What time is it, Krista? I'm not sure.
It is 9:05 my time, 7:05 your time.
Ah, okay. So we did it. So I'm just so that we can get wrapped up in a little bit, I'm just going to give some other suggestions for like the mug, but that's pretty much done. I mean, like I said, I'm going to go add in and I'm going to add centers to things. So like my little hydrangeas, I'm going to take that straight butter me up and I'm going to add little dots to the middle of those mixed butter me up and old lace hydrangea flowers. That just adds so much to it, just a cute little dot. I'm gonna do the same to these little flowers.
Yeah, they're just the finishing touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna say we're done with that one, just so I can move on to show you how I did some other things real quick. But yeah, that's how I did this plate. Obviously, what I did on this side, I also did on that side to have a mirrored kind of image of it. And then I glazed it. I brushed on my glaze and I clear glazed it and then fired it to Kono 6. But what I'll talk about is this stemless wine tumbler, because I haven't talked about this much. What I did for this one was I kind of came up with, I think like 2 or 3 kind of designs. So I've got this daisy with the kind of stems behind it. I've got this larger flower with these kind of puffier leaves. And then I've got these smaller kind of daisies with the more pointed leaves. So all I did for that was I made their own template for each of them. So I had a template for this, I had a template for this, and I had a template for this. And I took that same one and I just went around the mug and I transferred it on with my Sharpie. And then I went in and I just filled in the little gaps with these cute little flowers, just to fill the space. So that's all I did for that one, which similarly enough was what I did for this plate. I didn't take this plate and make a whole design for it because I didn't really need to. I just took this little bit here, made its own template with the 3 flowers and the leaves behind it, and I just cut it out so it was like a smaller little piece so it was easier to fit in, and then I just transferred it and copied it around on that one and then duplicated it or replicated it. So it depends how you want to do it. Obviously, if you're doing a larger design, having it all drawn out on one piece of tissue paper like this is definitely way more helpful. But for these ones, you can just cut up your own tiny little arrangements and then add them on to create a pattern or fill a space like this mug. And then on the inside, I just added the full color of the Periwinkle on the inside. I did 3 coats of that, just to add a little bit of contrast to it. But that's how I did that one. And I just love this one because it could definitely be used as a vase as well as a wine glass. Are there any questions I can answer while we're still here? Anything maybe I haven't gone over or anything I did too quickly? Like some more answer to? What can I do for you while I'm still here?
Well, while people are thinking, we'll do another trivia question for some more color.
Nice.
Let's see. This will be I'm going to do 2 more trivia questions. Oh, wait, here's a question. Did you say bisque fire again before you clear? No, you do not. This is an earthenware bisque that she already has. It's not greenware, so she just needs to put her clear glaze on and fire. Okay,
Yeah,
so 2 more questions for trivia. Yes. How many new foundation sheer glazes did Mayco just introduce? Oh, Jessie, on it.
Wow.
Nicely done. Jessie won. She got that one. 9 new foundations glazes. So Jessie gets some new stroke and coat glazes. Let me circle that so I remember. And then we're going to do 1 more question for the last prize of the day. Lots of people got it right. Good job, people. Let's see. I think, this is a good one to end on. In which country do cherry blossom trees signify the beginning of spring? You guys are so smart. Okay. Tiffany got it first, but she's already won a prize. So Linda, you are the winner. Japan. Very good. All right.
Nice.
So thanks you guys for doing our trivia. Do you like trivia? Everybody,
I just add
I never would have known this. All right. So we have 4 winners. And if you're out of the country, we will send you a gift certificate that you can use in your own country because Mayco is available all over the world. And if you are here, we might just send it a digital one anyway. But I have all your contact info. I'll get in touch with y'all tomorrow so we can get this to you. Any more questions? Please be sure to post your fired pieces. Get them finished. Go paint them. And then tag at Mayco PYOP and at Mayco Colors so we can see what you made. Thank you, Lindsay.
I can't wait.
I love it. It's pretty.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. I would love to see either what you painted if you painted tonight. I would love to see what you have painted in your studio. If you have customers that painted, I would love to see the variations that they would come up with. If, like I said, again, if you have staff, if you have a paint your own pottery studio, have a staff night where your staff come up with their own designs by using the templates, and just get them to use them. I'd love to see all the possibilities that can be used for. So let me see.
Yay, let us see. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you next time. Pay attention to your email and social media because we'll be having more of these coming up.